Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. I'm John Suzuki, and I am your host. And we are going to talk today about overcoming health challenges and family trauma. I have my guest today is Rob Nobrega, and Rob is the host of the Fire Breathing Rob podcast that you can find on all major podcast platforms. And he's going to share with us the challenges that he went through and the things that he did. The idea being to share so you can learn from it. Best way to learn sometimes is by copying other people's success. Rob Nobrega, welcome.
Well, John, God bless you. And thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. We've been friends for quite a long time, and I'm so grateful that you invited me on to talk about my journey as far as health and trauma.
Absolutely, because it's all about sharing. It's all about sharing. And you have a story that I thought was really, really, or could be of a lot of interest to my listeners. So, listen, a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your story.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I grew up in Johnston, Rhode Island, a little Italian town. It's mostly majority Italian.
It's
Grew
funny,
up
you don't have any kind of an accent.
Well, listen, John, I'll tell you, I can't lose it. I lived in Florida, lived in Rhode Island,
And
lived
it
in New
doesn't go
Jersey.
away.
It
Yeah.
doesn't go away, right? But anyways, just to kind of go into a little gist of me. So that's me. Grew up. My first sister passed away. I have another sister that has autism, severe autism. Health is very big in my life, but it really took a turn for me in 2020 during COVID, where I was shivering in my timbers like everybody else, worried about the virus rather, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then in 2021, things took a turn, John, for me. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Oh boy, yeah. COVID hit everybody. It hit everybody so hard, and we're all still reeling from it. And of course, nowadays, we're starting to hear about other things and other pandemics that might be inevitable, a bird flu, all kinds of stuff. But so share with us a little bit about what you went through and that part of your journey.
So, just a little bit of a backtrack because I didn't include this in the
Yep.
introduction. Excuse
Yep.
me. I did grow up in Rhode Island, but I did go to college, did my undergrad and my master's degree in Boca Raton, South Florida. Was very involved in political science there. Went to many Democratic club meetings, knew a lot of politicians, met Hillary, Obama,
Oh,
Bill
whoa.
Clinton. The
Wow.
list goes on and on.
Hmm.
Was involved in the 2012 presidential debate, the third presidential debate between Mitt Romney and President Obama
Mm.
at that time. And we'll get into why I brought that up in just a moment. But
Okay.
to shift back into 2021, I did get the COVID-19 jab. I want to say that just because we don't want to get censored here. And like anybody else, I was doing it for my family and my friends. I thought it was the right thing to do. But the day that I went to get the jab was at Publix. It's a supermarket in Florida. For anybody listening in Florida or in the Southeast in general, I'm sure you've heard of Publix in general. So I did get it. I used to have asthma. It's kind of went away due to, just growing out of it. But
Hmm. Hmm.
Governor DeSantis, our governor in the state of Florida, did put out a declaration that if you have some kind of serious illness or asthma, the list goes on, and you're a young person, you could move to the front of the line and in March of 2021 get the jab. So again, I went out there and did get that jab, but before I got the jab that day, I had thoughts and feelings. This doesn't seem right today. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. I think it was God telling me, and as a person of faith, the Holy Spirit telling me not to do this. I
Hmm.
didn't see
Hmm.
it at that time, John, because I wasn't as faithful in Christ as I am now. But
Interesting.
again, I did get the vaccine and I was fine at that time.
Okay.
Then obviously you have to wait 3 weeks. I got the other vaccine for the second dose of Moderna in April of 2021. And I had those same feelings came back. That's why I believe God was telling me, again, we're not saying anything that the vaccine is good or bad. We're just saying I believe God was telling me, because I did have those thoughts and feelings again, the same ones that I had before I got the first shot, not to do this. This doesn't seem right. I
Hmm.
called up a couple of friends saying I'm just getting these bad thoughts, anxiety.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
ended up again going against what I believe now to be God telling me not to do that for me personally,
Yeah.
and getting that second shot. And if we want to keep going, I can go a little deeper into that,
Well,
John. But
well, no, I mean, I think we kind of get the gist of where we're going in
sure,
this conversation. But what happened? So you had the
right.
feelings before, you had the feelings after you got it. So then what happened?
Because I was very healthy before this, John. I played
Hmm.
soccer in high school and college. I was an athlete throughout my life. I worked in the gym. I just came before we started this conversation from the gym workout every day, 7 days a week.
Hmm.
So what happened after that was I had the fever after the second shot, the chills, pain in my arm. A lot of people had this.
Right.
Then it went away. I was fine. I went about, on with my life. I was totally fine. And then 2 weeks after I got that shot at the end of April of 2021, I woke up with very bad vertigo. Again, I'm living by myself in a house in the state of Florida, no family around me at this time. And just picture yourself just waking up with vertigo that never goes away. We're in 2024 right now. I still have vertigo, still
Oh
have
my
pain
gosh.
in my trap muscle. Again, there are people that I've met that had this medical incision or whatever we want to call it, that have had worse issues than me. And I am grateful to God I've gotten better than I was in 2021. But I was extremely bad, couldn't get out of bed, went to the hospital 3 times from April of 2021 to August of 2021. The medical people were trying to put me on anxiety pills, depression medication. John, I was fine before this. I I worked out every
Wow.
day. I was a
Yeah.
soccer player. I was in tremendous shape. And now all of a sudden I have depression and anxiety. So something didn't seem right to me as far as the medical profession and what they were pushing on me during this time. And I can move a little, farther on down the line of what, kind of changed my life and how I think about things medically, politically. The list goes on in just a second.
Yeah, I think that you know it from the perspective of what you went through and your experience so far, what would you want folks to learn from your experience?
I would say there's a lot of people, and unfortunately, and I hate to make this as a huge generalization, but what's true is true, John, is that a lot of people that are older, they trust the media. They trust what the person in the white coat says. We're not trying to say everybody in the media is bad. We're not trying to say everybody that wears the white coat is that it's a doctor is bad. But you have to think for yourself. During COVID-19, we've seen people go into this hysteria and believe everything that was said by a doctor on the television, believe everything that was said in the media. I did this too personally. I take responsibility for my own actions. I would just tell people need to think for yourself. You need to do your own research. Do not just look at, if you're a liberal, what's being said by the liberals. If you're a conservative, what's being said by the conservatives. Research both sides in politics, research both things in medicine. What's being said on the holistic side? What's being said by regular different doctors in general? I know that's not the greatest terminology for that as far as medical advice goes, but you have to look at both sides and all sides of an equation. We were grown up in school, whether it's college, high school, grammar school, to think with critical thinking skills. We lost that during COVID, and some people, unfortunately, have not woken up. A lot of people have, such as myself, and I try to think critically about everything in life. I don't believe anything that's being said on TV. I look at both sides
Got
of
it.
the equation.
Got it.
So we
Yeah.
need to wake up and look into things, John.
Okay. So that was your wake-up call. I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm hearing. That was your wake-up call. Because, I mean, the thing about COVID was that it was such a scary thing. And it never happened before. Millions and millions of people were dying, and so there was naturally a certain level of hysteria, because nobody knew who to turn to. In my personal experience, I didn't know who to turn to. Dr. Fauci, he was up on TV all the time, and of course, were being told that on all levels of media, right? Whether it was be on the
Yeah.
left or the right, that the vaccine, that everything's coming out, everything's going to be great. And for me, I was fortunate in that I did get the jab, right? And my
Mhm.
family did. I've gotten COVID since, several times. Now, I don't know if the jab helped or not. My saving grace and my where I'm really grateful is that we didn't have an episode like what you went through,
Yeah.
and certainly didn't have the kind of impact. But it's so my question to you is, now that you have this mindset, this critical thinking mindset, which by the way, I think is awesome. I'm sorry you had to go through what you went through to get it, right? But I think that we do lack, very, very much. We've lost, a lot of us have lost the ability to do critical thinking. 4 years ago, um, there was a study that went out that said that our attention span has gotten down to the level of a goldfish. I
Right.
think it was, I
Yeah.
mean, seconds, right? And of course, now we're being taught and we're being conditioned to learn based on, I don't know, 10-second snippets on Instagram or TikTok, or I mean, it's crazy, right? And all that's done is taken away our ability for critical thinking. And this may not be a fair question to you, but given that everybody at that time was saying don't do it, and anybody who had an alternate perspective, anybody who was saying any seemed to be censored, seemed to be attacked, seemed to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, how do you sift through all that?
Well, again, I've learned a lot, and I will bring in my political beliefs. I will not degrade anybody because
Hmm.
we know people watch from all sides of the program. I used to be very far to the left. I told you this before, John, before COVID. I was a Bernie Sanders voter. Again, I worked for Barack Obama twice. I've met the president. I've met Hillary Clinton. I've met President Clinton when I was in college. I met all these people.
Wow. Hmm.
I idolize these people like they were Jesus Christ. I don't think that was the right thing to do at that time. I don't think it's the right thing to do now is idolize anybody.
Right.
Regardless of that point, throughout COVID and throughout my injury, especially, the people that I surrounded myself around that were like me as far as politically were the people that said what I was going through was not real, that I should get a third jab, that I should get on the depression and anxiety pills.
Oh
So
boy.
again, we go to critical thinking skills here, John, and we say, if these people are my friends and they don't believe me, and the people that I was told to think were Satan and the Antichrist are saying this is legitimate, what you're suffering through. We've met many people that are suffering
Hmm.
through this, and I've
Hmm.
met these women and men that are in good shape, that have worked jobs, that are still suffering worse than me, and that these people are real, and that we want to try to help you. These are doctors that were regular medical doctors certified through medical institutions around the country saying this is real. We're trying to help you. Long story short, it puts you in a place that you have to really think. And I struggle with this to this day because, again, I would have been on the left side for the majority of my life. I consider myself more as center right now, more of an independent thinker, an independent voter. I still don't know who I'm going to vote for president of the United States if the person that I like who's in the background doesn't get enough votes.
Who's that, by the
Uh,
way? Who is that? No, I'm just kidding.
but regardless of that, we'll see how that goes towards
Mhm.
October, November. But regardless of that, John, it put me in a place that these people I trusted my whole life were making fun of me, didn't agree with what I was going through was real. These people that I was told to hate and that was Satan were saying that what I was going through was legitimate, was real. It put me in a very tough place, and I still,
No
again,
kidding.
struggle with that, John.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I get that. I mean, here you are, all the people that you believed in your whole life, telling you that it's all in your head. And all the
Yeah.
people are people who you've always considered to be the enemy, saying, no, it's not in your head. It's real. And of course, in your head, you're going, it's real, right? And so I can imagine this conflict that you were having. And as we move forward, I want to kind of just set another thing in terms of why I'm asking these questions is because this can happen again. This can
Yeah.
happen again, right? I mean, we're learning more. It's really interesting what we're learning from with regards to some of these hearings with Dr. Fauci and gain of function that happened in the Wuhan lab. And, we're learning a lot of things. And so I hope people are paying attention to that. And, as we move forward, compare what we're learning today and moving forward to what we were told and what we thought as we were going through it, because I think that that is an analysis that would be very interesting, would be very helpful for people moving forward if this happens again to go, oh, and then do more critical thinking based on that experiential aspect of what we've gone through. And so yeah, and so I just want to throw that in terms of why I think this is so important that we're having this conversation and learning from you.
I think, John, we have to get out of this cult mindset. If
Yeah,
you like Trump, you're not a racist, anti-Semitic, sexist. If you like Biden, you're not some kind of pedophile or this and that. We need to come together. The people that are running the world want us to fight against each other.
that's
Black
right.
versus
That's right.
white, Asian against Hispanic. The list goes on and on. They don't want us to come together and be one people. They don't want world peace. They don't want a good environment. This is what's going on. It's been going on for years upon years on end, John. And they want to pit us against each other. And everybody, for the most part, in this country is a sucker. And they're falling for this. And
Yeah.
people want to watch the Kardashians and all this other gobbledygook nonsense that's
Oh,
on TV now. And there's plenty of the nonsense on TV. Instead
yeah.
of reading your book, American Grit, watching good historical television programs. And that's the problem with our society. And you talked about this at the beginning that we have the attention span of a goldfish. People just want to watch all kinds of sexual BS on TV
Yeah.
and all these 10, 20-second clips, and it's all bull.
And you know what? The thing is, it's all by design. It's all
Right.
by design. At least that's what my experience has shown me, is that, when you look at the major social media companies, it's all about addicting folks, right? It's all about dopamine. They've gone on record saying that it's all about that stuff. And I do want to say something to support your comment about the powers that be. I call it the bucketizing of America. You got the whites buckets, the blacks buckets, the Asian buckets, the gays buckets, the straights buckets. They're trying to put it with this diversity, equity, and inclusion. Everybody is trying to put each other, and people are trying to get us to put each other into these different buckets, right? I mean, I'm in an Asian bucket, and I tell folks, you know what? I don't. Don't call me Asian. I can't name a single Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, Indian, anybody who, when I ask the question, what are you, have said, I'm Asian.
You're an
You know,
American.
you're an American, or you're Japanese, or you're Korean, but in my case, you're absolutely right. I'm an American. And so we have to come together, and we have to that this is the reason for my podcast, right?
Yeah.
This is the reason why we're here. It's all about love. It's all about making people better, and helping to make the world better than the day we landed on it. And so the way this is going to happen, in my view, is with folks like you. Thank you so much. And folks like me and folks like our listeners, it's got to come from the bottom up, because it's not going to come from the top down. And bringing people together, and yeah, so it's kind of up to us.
Yeah, people need to come together and
Yep.
stop this bickering.
Yep.
This again, as you just stated, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, a white, black, Asian, Hispanic. It's all again, as you just stated, and not to regurgitate the same points, but what's true is true. It's to pit us against each other,
Yeah.
and they're winning. They're taking all the money, and they're getting
Yeah,
whatever they
that's
want
right.
done.
That's right. That's right.
And
And
and that's the way the cookie crumbles, John.
yeah, and I just want to pass along something for my audience to think about. It's not about diversity in a lot of cases. It's about disrespect.
Yeah.
And we have become so disrespectful of each other, and so impatient with each other, and so intolerant with each other. If we could just take off those horse blinds and have conversations and respect one another. You talk any situation, you are not going to agree with everything. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to agree to disagree. But let's get back there, because we're just living in a place where there's just so much fear. There's so much
John,
fear.
let's go back to 9/11. On nine
Yeah,
11, 9/12, 9/13, and onward in 2001, people came together as Americans. People had the flag outside their house. People had the flags on their car. People
that's
had the
right.
hats that said
That's right.
NYPD, FDNY, hats all over the country. They supported the firefighters, the police. They supported our servicemen and women. Now, people hate the police. They don't stick up for the firemen. They don't stick up for our servicemen and women like they used to. And it's a disgrace. And it all plays back into what we've just been talking about. It's a big problem in our America. And this is how America goes down the tubes. And it
Yeah.
goes from
Yeah.
a powerhouse country on down to just a regular, lick of the mill country. And we're seeing China on the rise. We're seeing Russia on the rise, Saudi Arabia on the rise. They're coming together with BRICS. I mean, this is a whole different topic, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but people in America have to wake up, have to come together. This is the time. And this whole Trump Biden thing, it's all to make you a sucker. It's not red versus blue. Again, even though I'm registered now as a Republican, I'll come out and say it, because in Florida, you have to register with one party or the other. I still agree with a lot of Democratic principles.
Sure.
I agree with some Republican principles.
Yep.
It doesn't mean because I'm registered as a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat that I believe everything hook, line, and sinker that the Democratic Party says, that the Republican
Right.
Party says. I have a mind of my own. And again, it's half and half with
But I'll
me,
bet you,
and I vote for the person.
I will bet you that there's a lot of people out there who, when you say I'm a registered Republican, instantly go
Yeah,
to, oh, I know what you're like.
yeah,
Stop it. Stop it. And same thing with Democrats. Stop it.
right.
People are people. And it's when you help people at the individual level. I always say, Rob, that if I can help one person make their life better, we've lifted the world. We've lifted the world. And a big part that I've learned, and I've done over 50 episodes now, which is just amazing. But most of the vast majority of which have been with guests like you, is it does have a lot to do with mindset. It does have a lot to do with critical thinking, like you were just saying. And it all has to do with bringing people together. It really does. You
John,
know?
just to interject quickly,
Yeah.
again, I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He ran as a Democrat in the Democratic primary. Like Bernie Sanders, who I used to support, and I voted for him in 2016 and 2020. They screwed him like Bernie Sanders. Again, this is another story for another day in the Democratic primary. My thing is, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm voted for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for president of the
There you
United
go.
States, who
There you
again
go.
ran in the Democrat primary.
There you go. There
All
you go.
right.
So, don't judge a book by its cover. In fact, I'm writing a kid's rhyme book, Rob, by the way.
Wow.
That's that the theme of which is don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And don't judge people by labels, folks. Don't judge people by labels or the
Yeah.
way they look. I've got this Martin Luther King
Yeah.
uh, poster. It says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only
Yeah.
love can do that." And I love that. I love Martin Luther King's quote, because it's all, and if there's a theme about this, it's that of this conversation is learn, think, think critically, and folks, let's come together as people. Rob, you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, John, I just want to say that, first of all, thanks for having me on. Secondly, again, as you stated, we have to come together. And my issue is that we all walk around on the streets, we see people, we might say, how you doing? Everybody says good. Not everybody is good.
That's right.
There's a lot
That's
of
right.
people, we've talked about COVID throughout this podcast. There's a lot of people throughout COVID that had a lot of mental health issues due to being locked down, due to maybe having an issue with the jab. The list goes on and on. We have to be kinder toward each other. And just because
Yes.
I come up to you and see you and I say, how you doing? You say good. That doesn't mean you're saying good. That's just a common courtesy to say. Everybody has their own issues that majority of people keep to themselves, because if we all went up to each other and said, how you doing? And you said, oh, terrible. You want to hear all my problems? You
Yeah.
would be
No,
here for
see ya. Yeah.
2
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. You'd run.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So we
that's,
have to keep that in perspective, John.
you do, because everybody, that is such a great comment, Rob. Everybody's got something going on. Even your best friends, right?
Right.
And it's amazing. I've been around for some time, and it is amazing when I look back on some of the relationships that I've had, how much I didn't know about the person sitting next to me, how
Mhm.
much I didn't know of all the people who I've worked closely with in my career. And it'd be years later that someone would say, "Hey, did you know that Tom had this problem?" And I'd go, What?" And this man used to sit next to me. I mean, and so yeah, that's such a wonderful one. Every person you look at, folks, has got something going on that they wish wasn't going on. So be kind, be gracious, and give them grace, and just that one little thing will make their world better. It really
And
will.
and
A
I
little
just
bit
want
of
to say,
kindness.
John, health is wealth. I learned that throughout
Totally.
this issue that I'm still having right now. And if I could leave anybody with this, I want to leave them with this point. Health is wealth. Make sure that when you take care of yourself, there's an obesity epidemic in this country, not just for adults, but for children. Diabetes epidemic, not for adults, but for children too. It's doubling up. We need to stand up and fight for our health. You need to get out and get some vitamin D. You need to get out and work out. Walk if you can't run. Exercise at a gym if you can afford it. Exercise at home. Do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, whatever it may be. Take responsibility for yourself. Stop eating the fast food. Okay, these are simple things that you can do for yourself. You don't need the person in the white coat to tell you this stuff. You can do it on your own.
You know what?
So,
You know,
yeah, go ahead, John.
one really bad thing that's happening today, that's that to your point could be kind of the little silver lining around the little black rain cloud, is that fast food has gotten so damn expensive. It's
Right.
gotten so expensive. So even people that were eating lots of fast food, they couldn't. So to your point, eat an apple. Forget about the apple a day. Eat an apple a week.
Yeah.
Forget eat a piece of lettuce once a week.
Yeah.
Start there. And yeah, health is definitely wealth. And to your point, and my experience is that unfortunately, it's when you don't have your health that you realize it really is part of your wealth and probably the most important part of your wealth. The other thing I'll say is that one of the things that my dad once told me, and he's passed away, but he was, he fought during World War II. He said, every generation needs its war.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible, terrible thing. But as speaking about 9/11, something really, really bad happened that brought our country together.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, per his experience, that's the reason why he said every generation needs this war to bring this country back together. And so I hope it doesn't take something terrible happening to bring us all back together, and that you and I and folks like us uh, can help bring us all together without that bad thing happening.
Well, lastly, John, we had a time to come together. It was in 2020. It was with COVID-19. And unfortunately, we chose to fight against each other again, the same lines of Biden, Trump. We can't let Trump get a win. If Biden gets a win, as far as a conservative person, we can't let him get the win either.
Yep,
And
yep,
that was the time for us to come together. There was also issues with our country is bought off by pharmaceutical companies. I mean, again, this is a whole nother rabbit hole that we
right,
could drive down.
right.
But we need to come together, and I'll leave with that. And if we do, this country will be a country that we will love again. And if
Yeah.
not, we're just going to be keep going down this hole of debt and deficit and hatred for one another. And this country is not the same country that you and I were brought up in and grew up in, John,
No,
unfortunately.
it's not. But you know what? I have hope. I have faith. I think that we can turn this around. And let's do it, folks. Let's do it. Let's take it from all of our acknowledgments that we need to come together, and let's come together. Let's come together. Let's make it happen. Yeah, it can just be smiling at somebody and saying hi that brightens somebody's day. You know, just just think about that, okay? It's up to us. It's up to all of us at the individual level. And I'm telling you, if you can brighten somebody's day, you have just lifted the world. And so with that, Rob, how do people learn more about you? How do people find you?
Yeah, you can go to youtube.com/fire breathing Rob. It's FIREBREATHINROB. You can also go find me on Rumble. It's rumble.com/fire breathing Rob. Same thing. FIREBREATHINROB. Check it out. We do politics, sports, lifestyle issues, some of the same stuff that John does. Rumble, we do a lot of health stuff due to my injury and many other people's, and we
Yeah,
do talk to a lot of really big name doctors in this country and even around the world that have been on national television. So, anyways, John, hey, thanks so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can keep the conversation going together and
absolutely.
keep up the great work.
And I love you, Rob, because everything that you do is based on your experience. right? It's
Yeah.
not based on theory. It's not based on some BS that's going on out there. And so remember, folks, fire breathing Rob. So it's fire breathing Rob without the G at the end of breathing. And listen, just another quick announcement for you folks. Starting July 15th, I am putting my second edition of American Grit, that book right there, on my website at johnsuzuki.com that you'll be able to download for free. And and so you don't have to go to Amazon. You'll be able to get it for free. Okay. I just want to get the word out. I want people to understand what happened with the concentration camps in America during World War II and the whole idea of being a champion and not a victim. So with that, Rob, thank you again. Thank you for joining me. God bless you, brother. I love you. And folks, let's bring them together. Let's make it all happen. Okay. And remember, think critically. Don't be critical, but think critically. Okay? With that, I love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye.